Hello and welcome to 3 Ways to Write Using Picture Books. My name is Sarah Scoggin and I'm the Early Childhood Librarian from the Newburgh Free Library, Newburgh, New York. This is actually a follow-up to 2 earlier videos I made, 10 ways to read picture books and 10 more ways to read picture books. But you don't have to limit yourself to reading picture books, you can use them to be writers as well. Especially little ones can be writers too. So here's 3 ways that you can get started doing that. The first way is to get little ones started thinking like writers. And for example, that might mean asking questions like, what is the problem in the story? You could even say it more simply, what are these characters trying to do? This is the Sesame Street storybook alphabet, and for example, we have here, this is just Old Mother Hubbard. The nursery rhyme went to her cupboard to get her poor doggie a bone, but when she got there, the cupboard was bare, and so her poor doggie had none, is the original, but here we have Mother Hubbard comes and says, the cupboard is bare. What's the problem? They have no food. What's the answer? How did they solve the problem? How did they fix it? They asked this magician to come, and he went, poof, there's some food. Problem solved. So just to introduce children to the idea that stories have conflict, have problems, have things we want to do in them. It could even just be the problem is they really, really want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Also, part of thinking like a storyteller is knowing that stories have beginnings, middles, and ends. This is Bunnykins ABC. Illustrated by Colin Twin, and it's a very simple story of some rabbits that go to school. It's their school day. So you could read this story and then afterwards say, what happened at the beginning? Well, they woke up and they walked through the village and they got to school and they hung up their coats. And what happened in the middle? Well, they had lunch and they went out to recess and then they had quiet time. What happened at the end? They went home from school and then they had some tea. So just the idea, what happened in the beginning, what happened in the middle, what happened at the end, even if it's very simple, just so they get the idea that those are the important parts of the story. So overall, step one is to think like writers. Number two, or idea number two, is to use your own routines to create a story. Children love stories that star them and their family. This is The Sailor Dog by Margaret Wise Brown and illustrated by Garth Williams. But it does have a scene that has our main character, Scuppers the Sailor Dog, go down into his cabin, and it goes through, he put his pants on the hook for his pants, his spyglass on the hook for his spyglass, his rope on the hook for his rope, his shoes under his bunk, he put himself in his bunk, and he went to sleep. So you could create your own story saying, okay, what do we do at night? First we have dinner, then we have bath time, then we have brushing our teeth, then we have story time. So the children could create, they could draw everything that they do either at night or throughout the day, and adults could write captions. They could make it in a big list and decorate it. You could take pictures and illustrate the story that way, but however you do it to make a story that they can then read over and over, starring them and their family. So it's a great way that they can feel like authors right from the very beginning, because really we're all storytellers. And tip number three, or idea number three, is to go deeper into the story. Expand on what you already see. So this is Heggity Peg by Audrey Wood and illustrated by Don Wood. And this story, slightly older children, is about a wicked witch that transforms some children. But I just want to focus on this one picture for a second. This is, the witch is actually way, way far in the distance. And these characters here are just part of the scene. They're not part of the story at all. So to take a picture such as this and pick characters, I could pick this woman here and I could give her a name. I could say her name is Annie. I could say that she lives on the farm next to this one. I could give her her own story, her family, her own adventures. Maybe she met Hecate Peg before. Um, Anything I wanted. I could make up a story based on the picture that I see. Um, and children often like to give names to people and again, or in each book you could pick one character. Um, Probably after you finish reading the story once, you can come back and tell your own story with the character you see. You could also add dialogue to a scene that doesn't actually have the dialogue in it. This is similar to an idea that I talked about in an earlier video where we picked a scene and there were houses in the background, and I said, well, who could live in those houses? And we invented characters that we couldn't see, but now we're going to take the things that we do see and add some dialogue. So, for example, this is Need a House, Call Ms. Mouse by George Mendoza and illustrated by Doris Susan Smith. And on one page, Henrietta Mouse, who's an architect, is shown with a house that she built for Worm. And it only says here that she built Worm's dream house. But I like to invent dialogue. I read this book to my 20-month-old daughter, and for fun, one time I just had Henrietta Mouse say, Worm, Worm, it's time for tea, because there's a little teapot that's just whistling here on the stove. And she really liked that. And the next time I said, Worm, you invited me over. Are you asleep? I can hear you snoring. And another time I said, Worm, please put the bridge down so I can walk across. And talk about opposites. The bridge is up, the bridge is down. So I just invented dialogue for this page that doesn't have any. So you can make it as short or as elaborate as you want, but it's just ways that you can practice storytelling with the storybook art that's already in front of you. So stay tuned for more writing tips and ideas from picture books. Thank you for watching. Bye.